Today, I want to talk about the first year to 3 years of homeschooling and what I think is the 5 most crucial areas that you need to work on and what is important, what isn't important in these years, and what is success in these years, what is worth your time and worth pursuing. If you don't know who I am, my name is Sinead. I am a second generation homeschooler. I have 6 children. I currently homeschool 3 to 4 of my 6 children at the moment. And this is what I talk about here on YouTube. I talk about homeschooling and motherhood. I'm feeling a lot different about today's topic than I was a few weeks ago. This is actually my 3rd attempt at filming this video, which is why it's on my iPhone and I don't have a proper microphone at the moment, so I don't know about the audio quality. I'm hoping that it's passable, but I don't trust my other camera because it's been deleting my footage and yeah, it's just no good. So I'm here quickly today. We've just finished school for the day and my kids are outside having a snack, and I'm gonna try and get 20 minutes to film this and put this together. What I really wanted to talk about was the first few years. And when I first started this video, I was just going to give, and I still am going to give, my 5 things that I would focus on if I took myself back to when I first started homeschooling. And these are the things that I have learned since then. But I'm also a little bit more passionate about it too, because in the weeks when my own footage wasn't working out, I decided to go, oh, well, maybe I can change it up and change up my usual sit down style video and see what everyone else is doing, because I don't really watch that many homeschoolers. So I sort of typed in, the year 1 of homeschooling and homeschooling for beginners and all those things. And I got very frustrated at what I found, not because any or all of the information was wrong, but I get really frustrated when I see this perfect home, this perfect lifestyle of homeschooling. The only thing that's different in my life right now making this video is I have my hair up semi-nicely and I have some makeup on. But I don't change my days. Whenever I film a homeschool day in the life, or if I'm talking about my homeschooling, or if I even have those little film snippets of my kids doing work, I don't set up for that. I'm not preparing for that. It is just me bringing my phone along to show you how I homeschool. My homeschooling lifestyle is something that fits me and is built for me, and it's built by me to suit my family. And I know for a fact, and I'm going to call out some homeschooling YouTube channels here now, and I know that I might get some hate for this. I don't know. And I know I have to be careful saying this because I don't want to say they're all fake. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that I don't buy this lifestyle that they're selling, especially when they say that, for their 5, 6 or 7-year-old, they're doing 3 hours of work a day and they're just showing you all this lovely, pretty things that they've bought and it's just going so well. And I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I have been there. I'm a mum. I've got kids. My kids are not way different to everybody else's children. I don't buy it. I don't buy that it's productive. I don't buy that it's consistent. I don't buy that it's sustainable. I don't think it is something that as a homeschool YouTuber that we should be selling. I think that, look, there is a standard that you can attain. You can have the clean home. You can have the put together children. You don't have to be losing your mind all the time in order to be relatable. I think it's this sort of fake look into my life at how gorgeous my homeschooling is. I don't buy it. I not for a minute. I've been homeschooled. I am a homeschooler. I know other homeschoolers. Don't buy it for a minute. And it makes me really frustrated when there must be thousands and thousands of women who are just starting out, who are struggling, who don't know what to teach, who don't know how much time. So they're often teaching too much. They're often spending way too much time teaching their young children. They're too hands-on. They're trying to engage because they're teaching children who are too young. They are just so overwhelmed trying to achieve everything that society tells us and our state school system tells us that we should achieve. And then we go on YouTube and we find a homeschooler who has a beautiful home, a beautiful schoolroom, put together curriculum, whose school day is framed with this lovely music, and then the mum sits down with her kids gone and she's telling everyone how they homeschool for 3 hours a day and they go out for snacks, and I don't buy it. I'm calling you out. I am not saying that we can't have good days like that. It happens. it's not sustainable long term. Not when you're a family, not when you're a mum and you've got homemaking, cooking, you've got things outside the home, you've got it. Just no, I don't buy it. No. And so this video, that's a big thing that I wanted to say this time around. I think I watched like 20, 25, 30 videos that have been put up in the last 2 years on homeschooling the first years. Now, there were a few who did really get it right, who did say, yes, don't teach much, you don't have to focus on these things and all that kind of stuff, but they are few and far between. And unfortunately, they have very little views because often, even like me, we don't have that aesthetic going on that's so clickable on YouTube and so that draws your eye. And I do think that a lot of these people getting these big views, people aspire to want that. They want that. They want to aspire to have that perfect life. But because I believe that it's fake, you're never going to get there. And if that is what you're striving for, you're going to have a really bad time homeschooling. You are not going to enjoy it. You're always going to feel like you're falling short. And that is not the message that I want to put out on my YouTube channel, which is why I'm keeping it real. I'm calling this out and I want to show you and I want to tell you what I have learned the first few years, what is actually crucial and what you really should be focusing on and how you can create that sustainable lifestyle when you're a busy mum with young children. So let's start with number one. Number one, starting ages. All right, starting ages are crucial. I think that it is rare that a child is ready to start school. By that, I mean maths, reading, writing, spelling, all those usual things by the time that they are 5 or 6. I think it's rare. I think they are ready to start some elements of school. They are usually ready for one topic more than another. They are usually ready to sit down for short bursts of time and focus, but very rarely is a 5 or 6-year-old ready. Now, some are. I will say some definitely are, but they are rare. Now, I believe, and I have a video on, I think it's the first one I ever did, which is why I minimalist homeschool. And I talked a little bit about starting ages and how I really have learned to think outside the box when it comes to starting ages and just, let myself relax into looking and reading my children. And I think this is really big for your first few years, because if you go into it thinking that my child is 6, on the 30th of April, and so therefore they make the cutoff and let's just start. If things don't go so well, things aren't going to go well. It's going to be frustrating, stressful, slow. Your child's not going to enjoy it. You're not going to have that idyllic lifestyle that you thought you were going to have as a homeschool mum, and it's not going to be nice. So if you can learn to think outside the box and go, hey, maybe this is not curriculum or my teaching style, or, I don't have the right fun toys, or I don't have the right engaging attitude for when it comes to school time, maybe my child is too young. So especially for boys, and this is in general with boys, and it's been scientifically proven that way, but it's also, I'm talking about my boys as well. With boys, they don't start year 1 until they're at least 6 and a half. All right. But we are pushing even 7. I don't teach, and when I say year 1, I don't really include reading until whenever they're ready. So my boys so far have not been ready to start learning to read, and that repetitive, sort of boring approach to learning to read, which can just be difficult to teach a child who's not ready, until they're 9 years old. That is 3 to 4 years later than when the 5 or the 6-year-old would start. And it can be scary. I mean, I'm very confident in it now, but it can be pretty terrifying to wait that long. You can feel like this is wrong, this is a mistake, this is not going to work, I'm going to make my child lag, I'm going to make them slow, they're going to repeat. They're not. They're really not. There are other things that I think you should be doing while they're not learning how to read, which is preparing their mind. They can be doing read alouds, they can be doing other subjects, maybe writing, maybe mathematics, or maybe a more of a hands-on curriculum until they're ready to read. But you don't have to teach those difficult topics. And it might be the other way around. They might be ready to read, but they're not ready for maths. You can hold back these topics. You do not have to jump all in with a great big fancy curriculum, which can be really exciting when you're a new homeschooler and you don't really know what you're doing. So what you do is you lean on a curriculum. You lean on something that can help you, that can give you as much of a back brace as possible as you charge into your first year of homeschooling. And you are going to want to fulfill that curriculum, because if you see that that curriculum is not getting done, if you see that your child has a weak spot, it makes you feel bad. You start to wonder what's wrong. And in those first few years, the answer to that question is usually not, oh, they're just not ready. We usually have some kind of other answer. We have another solution to that problem when it's not a problem. Just wait a little while, and your child will develop, and they'll be able to take on learning whatever they have to learn. So starting ages is one. Try and think outside the box. There are so many options. Now, I know that you might have to still start school. You might have to, you're a registered homeschooler and you have to start. You have to have, you may even have like hours to fulfill or a plan to have, and you might even be checked that you've got a history of homeschooling. So you can still start with a curriculum, but you may have to understand that, hey, they may not thrive in reading this year. So I may not be pushing them to learn the concepts of reading this year. Maybe we'll wait till next year. They can still glide through it and we can say that we've done it, but are they going to be proficient readers? Maybe not. That is something that you can open your eyes to and say, I can do this for my child, because that's what you're doing. When you make the decision to be slower or to wait, to hold back, or to not focus on that right now, you are doing what's best for your child, and your child is going to thrive under that decision making. All right, number 2. Keep your curriculum simple. So I sort of already glanced on that, but I think that it is a huge mistake to jump into your first year with a really big and in-depth curriculum. I have a video on what I use to teach my kids. And mind you, I know I'm a minimalist homeschooler, so my video probably be like, well, there's a heap missing from that. I so far only have young children, so I haven't had to worry about and I don't worry about, teaching the social, like geography and history and science. I don't focus on any of that. I focus on the 4 core building subjects, which is reading, writing, spelling, and mathematics. And so that's what I focus on, and that's all I do for my children. The curriculum is very simple, it's distraction free, it's consistent and sustainable. So, and it's under my control. That's another thing too. And what I mean by that, and especially in the first few years, so of course, this doesn't really apply if you're teaching a child who is in high school or year 5 or 6, because by then they should be able to sort of manage themselves. Like, you're still watching them, correcting them, helping them, but their curriculum sort of can carry them along. But when you're teaching a young child who's in year 1, 2, and 3, you really need to be in control of that curriculum. You need to be able to take it at your own pace. You need to be able to easily repeat lessons if you need to. So that's why, for example, I use the McGuffey's readers, because they teach my kids how to read, but I control all of those books. I control what page we're on, what spelling words we do, what sound we're mastering. I can hold them back. We can go back and repeat. Those books are completely at my child's timeline. There's no curriculum. There's no certain page you have to be at to. And while no curriculum can be like that, if a curriculum has a set pace that you feel like you should be completing this book by the end of the year and so on, you can automatically start transferring the curriculum's goal onto your kids, whether or not they're ready for it. So I like to have a curriculum that is quite eclectic, and it may not be for everybody, but the curriculums that I do use are, I think, are very, very safe for beginner homeschoolers. And I think that keeping it eclectic and using what you need to, and only teaching what serves your children in this stage, is really crucial to having a thriving and successful first year of homeschooling. This needs to be simple, it needs to be distraction free, and it needs to be sustainable. And so that's why I'm a minimalist homeschooler in this time, because when you're teaching a child in the year from 1 to 3, then it's very hands-on. You are right there next to them, watching them do their work. You can maybe walk away while they're writing spelling words, something like that. But, ultimately, you need to be in charge of delivering, checking, and being there when they're doing their schoolwork. And that's why you need to really focus on doing less. But doing less is really a gift to your child. These days, we're used to mimicking the school system, which has, all these subjects all day, which, mind you, they only really do 10 to 15 minutes of work in each hour or 45-minute time slot during school. But we can feel like we have to mimic that. We feel like we have to be with our 6, 7, and 8-year-olds. We feel like, we've done one book, get the next book out. We've done that book, get the next book out. And that's our school day. When in reality, it really doesn't have to be like that. You can just choose to focus on one subject a day. And especially if you're a minimalist homeschooler, you can just loop the subjects every day and still complete exactly the amount of work that your child needs to master it. When you decide to choose less and decide to have a curriculum that serves your child and doesn't just carry your child along, then the whole way that you can school and the whole way that you can choose to be sustainable in your first year opens up. You can completely control how much you do, how long it takes you, when to stop, when to hold back, and when to charge on. These are the things that you should be making choices in when it comes to that first year. This is how you should be looking at your curriculum. There are so many sort of Charlotte Mason eclectic type curriculum videos out there that I would suggest that you watch. I don't really like the whole curriculum packages that come in the first few years. So keep your curriculum simple, easy, sustainable, and be aware of how much you can control it and how much you are able to hold back, keep going, to press pause. These are an important step when it comes to choosing your curriculum for your first year. Number 3, consistency is crucial. In these first few years, 2 to 3 years, you need to be consistent, which is why you need to make sure that your whole homeschool lifestyle is sustainable. It needs to be able to be done on a bad day, on a busy day, or on a good day. You cannot have a homeschool lifestyle that is set up for the good days. The homeschooling channels who are promoting like homeschool for beginners and our first year and what to expect in the first years and how to teach this and that, I'm like, one, you haven't been homeschooled yourself, and often they're in those first few years of homeschooling and they really don't know what they're talking about. I'm sorry to say it, but they're there and they're like, oh yeah, we teach for 3.5 hours a day and I make sure that my kids get plenty of snacks in between and they get a break. And it's like, she's talking about a 6-year-old. And it's like, no, that is way too long. That is so unnecessary. And a lot of the time, if not all of the time, when you talk to a more experienced homeschooler, even on YouTube, there are so many experienced homeschoolers out there who've been doing it for 10, 15 years who go, my year one's really relaxed, we don't really focus on much, and that's what they've learned. And so I get really irritated when I see these homeschool moms who mean well, and I don't mean anything against them, they mean really well, but they're giving all this advice without, and they're promoting this lifestyle on, with their YouTube videos where everything's beautiful and they've got music going in the background and everything's slow, and that's lovely to watch. Don't get me wrong. It can sometimes inspire, but I feel like it's very dangerous to promote, because is it really teaching a mum who's desperate to learn, who really wants to homeschool her kids and succeed? I would say no. And so that's why I'm making this video, and I've been really selective and careful in what I say, and I'm trying to educate, and I'm trying to encourage a mum who is tired, run down, even if you only have 2 kids, you can get really tired and worn out if you're choosing to homeschool for hours every day. And mind you, I can guarantee that your kids probably don't appreciate that either, not when they're young. Okay, so again, I went way off topic there. Consistency. Consistency is really important. Your child, when they're young, they have to learn things really consistently. And what I mean by that is you have to be consistently repetitive, which is boring. And that is why too, it's important to wait to teach a child the year 1 concepts, which are the building blocks for learning in year 1 and year 2. This is not a frivolous year. This is not the time to be fun and engaging. This is a time to get things done. And it's also a time that's why I think it's so important to really decrease the time you're spent learning, because it's more fruitful, because it's full on, but it's these short little sweet chunks of time that your kids can actually build their knowledge upon. So you need to be consistently repetitive, which is why, again, I liked for reading and for maths, I like Matthew C. I use Matthew C for my maths because it builds on each concept so well. I did not use Matthew C when I was homeschooled, but I wish I had it, because I think I would have had a much better time at mathematics. Yeah, you need to be consistent. You need to show up every day with the same information, or at least with information that is always building on yesterday's information. It's not good when your children are young to just come with a new lesson. It's new and it's fun and it's, that has its place. It can be nice to just do something exciting and really lift your kids' interests every now and then. I do that. But it is not good to be teaching children who are potentially too young and need that. Because you see, before a child is developmentally ready for the year 1 and year 2 learning curriculum and what they have to learn in that, they're preschool learners. And a preschool learner is a social learner. They learn through watching, doing, asking questions, and trying it out. And so if we're taking a child with a developmental mind of a preschool learner and sitting them down for a year 1 curriculum, it doesn't go well, because they're hands-on. What the parent usually does is make their homeschooling hands-on, fun, engaging, always changing. And if you've got time for that, and if that's what you want to pursue, then go for it. I don't have time for that. So I let my preschoolers be preschoolers for longer, and I let them do exactly what they want to do. I encourage them to go outside and experiment and play, and we have educational toys, and they're able to have conversations and help me in the kitchen and ask a lot of questions. That's their life, and they'll do that until they're ready, until they start to grow out of that, until they start to want to participate, to have longer conversations, to be able to listen, for longer, more intently, to have that thought process where they're asking the next question and the next. That is when they're ready to go, hey, you're no longer that preschool learner. You still love to get outside like a child, but I can bring you inside for short bursts of time and productively teach you information that you need to know. So again, it's like consistency and the whole starting ages and also simplifying what you learn. It all compounds on each other. In order to be sustainable, you need to be teaching a child that isn't too young. In order to be consistent and be repetitive, to master these building block concepts, again, you need to have a simple curriculum that you can control and repeat, and you need to be teaching a child who is developmentally ready. So I feel like I'm talking really fast. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. It all builds one against the other, and if you don't have one of these, then everything else starts to sort of fall down. So this is why if you are a new homeschooler in your first year and you're wondering why it ain't going so well, or if you're just starting out and you're watching this to see how homeschooling will go, then these are what you need to remember. Keep it simple, what can be sustainable for you, and remember, do not think that you can create a lifestyle brand new and sparkly when you start homeschooling. Your lifestyle and the way you live and the way your family interacts and spends time together and what you do is all right there. You need to put homeschooling in that, not suddenly change up your whole life to suit homeschooling. It's not going to work. Number 4, confidence creates learners. A confident child will be a learning child. This is also something that I have learned, and again, it builds on starting a child when they're ready, being consistent, giving them the chance to be confident. If you don't create that sort of confidence springboard in your homeschooling lifestyle and the choices that you have made for your children, they're not going to be very confident. Doesn't mean that confidence is therefore just trumps all. You can have a child who struggles and who doesn't feel, doesn't particularly enjoy it. That is going to happen, but I have learned that my children get so much more confident when I have the confidence to make decisions for them and not make decisions based on what I think is right. And so, yeah, that's what I have learned. So for example, it has taken me to build my confidence in holding my eldest back from subjects that I was hoping he would be ready to learn 2 years ago, and just introduce them now. And now that I'm introducing them now, for example, we've just started biology, a simplified biology. He is thriving in that. Now, originally, I would have liked to have started that when he was like 9, 10, and not 11, 12. And so I had to have the confidence in my choice to go, well, look, while it's not nice to say, hey, my kid's still just doing reading, writing, and math, but it has paid off, and I think that now he is so confident in his ability to take on what is quite a diverse and in-depth subject. And we're both really enjoying going through this book because his confidence is through the roof. And, again, my confidence is through the roof too, because I'm like, yes, I made the right decision here, and I'm learning and I'm growing more confident in my ability to actually look at my child and go, This is not particularly nice for me to say to myself, but he's not ready. I need to hold back. So for example, right now, I'm holding my eldest back from creative writing. We started creative writing, and mind you, this is creative writing like year 2, year 3. This is not in-depth stuff. He really, really doesn't like it, like at all. He has no confidence in himself. And look, there are some kids out there who thrive at this at like 5 years old. And I have to have the assurance in myself to say, that's not my kid, and I can't change that. So I've just stopped and I've held it back. And when he's better at reading and when he has a few, short stories and novels under his belt, I figure and I'm thinking that by then his confidence in his storytelling ability and his ability and his thought processes around writing will have changed. And look, maybe he'll never thrive. Maybe that's not a subject for him, but I have learned through experience that idea and that way of thinking works. So I'm going to keep going with it. Number 5, if you're in your first year, okay, don't do what I did and just go, well, my kids are young and, they'll get better. No, set a behavior standard. And I'm talking from sitting up straight in their seat to looking after their school books, having the same pencil and rubber all year long and looking after their things and respecting their things, to writing in their books with good writing, good print, with their maths book, no scribbling, no pictures, doing all that stuff. Set that standard the first year, the first day. All right, trust me, it will only come back and bite you in the butt if you don't. You will have children who are slumping and dropping their pencil 57 times a day, and their books will be shoved and you'll find pages ripped, you'll find doodles all through their math books. You'll go to correct and you'll go to check their work in their maths, and it's illegible, you cannot see it. And then you got to go back and tell them to do it again, and that creates just a bad attitude, and so don't do that. I have learned now. I started my third boy, year 1, boom, back straight, pencil in your hand, look after your book, write properly. I am not doing this again. And so this is something that I would definitely encourage you to do, because it's something that I have not heard mentioned anywhere, but that is, set that behavior standard. You will thank yourself in the years to come when you have children who have an ingrained behavior, like a school table behavior. Their books are in line, their pencils are always in their hands, the rubber is in their pencil case, their print is legible, there's no scribbles all over everything. And it really saves you just a lot of that headspace that you don't need taken up with really particularly trivial things that is very easy for your children to master. So that is definitely number 5 for me. So that sums up my video. And if you like this video and if it was at all helpful to you, then give me a thumbs up, and you can subscribe too if you want to hear more, because I have a lot of content like this. And I hope I encourage someone. And look, I was not intending to bring anybody down when I was like calling out the other homeschool YouTube channels out there. I do just think that in the next 5, 6, 7 years, a lot of them though are going to change their tune. A lot of them will be going, they'll probably just mention it offhand, I did way too much in the first few years. But that doesn't benefit you. If you're here trying to learn and trying to homeschool your kids and you're relying on YouTube as an insight into somebody else's life and how it's done, then that does not help the many thousands of women who are trying to get a grip on what homeschooling in the first few years is. And so I think that is the danger, and me included in this, that is the danger of making YouTube videos on homeschooling as you go, because we learn as we go. And I am very careful to not be I'm always trying new things, but I don't document them because a lot of them don't work. And a lot of them I'm I don't know. So I talk a lot about holding my kids back, but I've been doing that now for a little while where I have a lot more confidence in it now. Ultimately, I think that YouTube can be a dangerous place because there's so many homeschoolers who are chucking things out there as they learn. And look, that's going to happen to everybody. Not everyone, there's pretty much no one who is a complete expert and even on one thing. That's okay. But what's dangerous about it is that there are thousands of women who are trying to get a grip on what homeschooling in the first year looks like. And they're coming to these women. They look aesthetically pleasing. They look, like a lifestyle that who wouldn't want this lifestyle that they're portraying? And like I said, I don't buy it. And for me, it's easier to go, oh, I don't think this is at all sustainable or consistent. I don't think, and I can definitely say straight away, I'm not doing that. It doesn't benefit me. But there are so many women out there who will try and attain that and who will think that that is a successful homeschool day in their life. And it's not. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I don't, do I wish sometimes that my videos could look a little bit nicer and maybe be a bit more clicky? Yes, I do. Do I wish that I, even down to like having the equipment that these women have? But I also know that I would be nice even for me to see somebody else homeschool in what I can actually believe is what they do, and not this put on lifestyle for a day to show that you've got it together and that you know what you're talking about. Because, and I'm not even that experienced, but I can guarantee that a woman who's been homeschooling for 20 years is going to look at those videos and going, I wonder how much of that actually is true. That's what they're going to be saying. If you want to see more of my content, I have a blog called thesimplemama.com, and I pretty much write about everything that I post. And almost on all of my posts, I have free printables that you can download and print out, from flashcards to charts and all those things that I use. Until next time, I hope this was fruitful, and I hope I wasn't too negative. I felt like I could have been a little bit too negative in this video, but hopefully not. And until next time, bye.